Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jayo Girivarodhari Jayo Girivarodhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Ballava Jaya Girvaradari Jaya Girvaradari
Yashodanandana Brajodana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Banachari
Jayo Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jayo Radha Radonato Radha Radonato Radhe
Jaya Radha Adyunata
Radanata
Radha
Radhanato
Radha
Radhe
Radhe
Jaya Goranitai 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 Jaya Goranitai
Jaya Goranitai 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 Jaya Goranitai
Jayo Jagannath Jayo Jagannath Jayo Baladeva Jaya Subhadra
Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra
Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Nayana Patagami Pavatu me
Jagannath Swami Nayana Pathagami Nayana Pathagami Bhavatu me
Jayo Pralad Nishringa Jayo Pralad Nishringa Jaya Pralad Nishringa Jayo Pralad Nishringa
Jaya Prahlad Singha Jaya Prahlad Singha Jaya Prahlad Singha Jaya Prahlad Singha
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Prabhupada
Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya
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 Prabhupada
Prabhupada,
Prabhupada
Prabhupada,
Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya
Jaya Jaya
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada
Jaya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada
Jaya
Jaya
Jagadguru
Jagadguru Srila
Srila
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev
Jaya
Jaya Jaya
Jaya
Gurudev
Gurudev,
Gurudev
Gurudev.
Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us for this morning Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam class in this month of Purushottam. I'll just do the Mangalacharana and then we will start with the verse for today. So, Narayana Namaskritam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devam Saraswati
Saraswati
Vyasam
Vyasam
Tato
Tato
Jayam
Jayamudire
Nastapayeshu Avadeshu
Nastapayeshu
Nityam Bhagavata
Bhagavata
Sevaya
Sevaya
Bhagavate
Bhagavati
Bhagavata
Uttama
Uttam
Shloke
Shloke
Bhakti
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 Bhavati
Bhavati
Naishti
Naishti
Om Jnana
Jyatimirandasya
Timirandasya Jnananjana
Jnananjana
Salakaya
Salakaya
Chakshur
Chakshurunmilitam
Yena
Yena
तस्मै
तस्मै
श्री
श्री
गुरुवे नमः।
गुरवे नमः।
श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं
येन भूतले
भूतले
स्वयं
रूपा
रूपा
कदा
दाम्यं
मह्यं
ददाति
ददाति
दाति
स्वपदान्तिकम्।
स्वपदान्तिकम्।
हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु
दीनबन्धु
जगत्पते
जगत्पते
गोपीश
गोपीश
गोपिकान्त
गोपिकान्त
राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते।
नमोऽस्तुते।
तप्त कंचन
वचन गौरङ्गी
गौरंगी राधे
राधे
वृंदावनेश्वरी
वृन्दावनेश्वरी
वृषभानुसुते
वृषभानुसुते
देवी
प्रणमामि
प्रणमामि
हरिप्रिये
हरिप्रिये
श्रीवञ्चकपतरुभ्यश्च
तरुभ्यश्च
कृपा
कृपा
सिन्धुभ्यो एव
सिन्धुभ्यैव
च
च
पतितानां
पतितानां
पावनेभ्यो
पावनेभ्यो
वैष्णवभ्यो नमो
नमो
नमः।
नमः।
श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य
चैतन्य
प्रभु नित्यानंद
नित्यानन्द
श्री अद्वैत गदाधर
गदाधर
शिवासादि
शिवासादि
गौरभक्तवृंद।
हरे
हरे
कृष्ण
हरे
हरे
कृष्णा
कृष्ण
कृष्णा
कृष्ण
कृष्णा
कृष्ण
हरे
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 राम
राम
हरे
हरे
राम
राम राम
राम
राम
राम
राम
हरे
हरे।
हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
जय
जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।
जय
Read from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 5.136. It's a bit of a difficult one to pronounce, but we'll do our best, as it is I normally struggle. Shaivam aparimita bala parikrama.
Where is the verse?
स एवं परिमित बल पराक्रम
Okay, so verse not being shared? Okay, it
Yes.
is. All right, thank you, Mataji. Sha evam aparimita bala parikrama.
सा एवं परिमित
परिमित
बला
बल
पराक्रमा।
पराक्रम
Sha evam api mita bala parikrama.
स
सा एवं
एवं परिमित बल
परिमित बल
पराक्रम
पराक्रमा।
Ekada tu darvashi chara nanu salva sayo nanu patita guna.
एकदा तु देव
एकदा तु
ऋषि
देवर्षि चरणानयनानु
शरणानुशयनानुपतित।
पतित गुण विसर्ग संसर्गेण
Ekada tu darvashi chara nanu saya nanu patita guna.
एकदा
एकदा तु
तु
देव ऋषि
देवर्षि चरणानयनानु पतित गुणा
शरणानुशयनानुपतित गुण।
Ekada tu darvashi chara nanu saya nanu patita guna.
एकदा
एकदा
तु देव ऋषि
चरणानयनानु
चरणानुशयनानुपति गुण।
पतित गुणा
Visharga samsar gehe so gena nirvritam ivat mana manya mana.
विसर्ग
अनुपतित
संसर्गेणानिवृतम् एवात्मना
Visharga samsar gena nirvritam evat manam manya mana.
विसर्ग संसर्गेण अनिवृत्तम् एवात्मनम्
Visharga shamshir gena nirvritam ivatmana manya mana.
विसर्ग संसर्गेण अनिवृत्तम् एवात्मनम्
Atmani veda hidam haha.
आत्मनिवेद
आत्मनिवेद
इदम् आह।
इदमाह
Atmani veda idam aha.
आत्मनिर्वेद
आत्मनिर्वेद
इदम्
इदम्
आह
आह।
Atmani veda idam aha.
आत्मनिर्वेद
आत्मनिर्वेद
इदम्
इदम्
आह
आह।
Prabhu's Mataji's.
सा एवं अपरिमिता बला परिक्रमा एकादा।
स एवं
Eva
परिमित
aparita
बल
bala
पराक्रम
parikrama
एकदा
ekada.
Udev Rishi Charnanus Ayananu Patita Guna.
तू देवर्षि चरणानु शयनानु पतित गुण
Visarga Samsargena Nirvritam Ivatmanam.
विसर्ग
Visarga
संसर्गेण
samsargena
निर्वृत्त
nirvrita
इवात्मानं
Manya Mana Atma Nirveda Idam Aha.
मन्यमान आत्मा
atma
निर्वेदम्
nirveda
इदमाह
idamaha.
स एवम् अपरिमित बल पराक्रम
Saevam
Shaiva
Aprimita Bala
aparmita bala
Prakarma.
parikram.
एकदा तु देवर्षि चरणानुशयनानुपतित गुण
Ekada
तु
tu
देवर्षि
Devashi
चरणानुशयनानुपतित
Patita
गुण
Guna.
विसर्ग संसर्गेणा निर्वृत्तम्
Visarga sargena
Samsargena
nirvritam
Nirvartam
idham gunaha.
Ivatmanam.
अवात्मानं मन्यमान् आत्मनिर्वेद इदमाह
Manya mana atma
Atma
nirveda
Nirveda
idamaha.
Idamaha.
हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna, thank you. Shah,
सह
E, that's
He.
Maharaj
E.
Pariksha.
That's
Priyavrata. Evam,
एवं
Evam
thus.
दस
Das
Aparimita,
अपरिमित
unparalleled.
unparalleled
Bala,
बल
strength.
strength
Parakraman, Maha,
परिक्रमा
Kramaha.
whose influence.
those influence
Ekada,
एकदा
once upon a time.
once upon a time
Two,
तू
then.
then
Devarishi,
देवर्षि
the great saint Narada.
of the great
Of the
saint
great saint
Narada
Narada. Charana Anushayana,
चरण अनुशयन
surrendering unto the lotus feet.
surrendering unto the lotus feet
Anu,
anu
thereafter.
thereafter
Patita,
patita
fallen down.
fallen down
Guna,
Visarga.
Guna Visharga,
guna visarga
with material affairs created by the three material modes of nature.
with material affairs created by the three material modes of nature
Samsar Gina,
sansargena
by connection.
by connection
Anirvritam,
anirvritam
not satisfied.
not satisfied
Eva,
eva
like.
like
Atmanam,
atmanam
himself.
himself
Manya Manaha,
manyamana
thinking like that.
thinking like that
Atma,
atma
self.
self
Nirvedaha,
nirvideha
possessing renunciation. Idam, this.
this
Aha,
aha
said.
said
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. While enjoying this material opulence,
while enjoying this material opulences
with full strength and influence,
with full strength and influence
Maharaj Priyavrata
Maharaj Priyavrat
once began to consider that although he had fully surrendered
that although he had fully surrendered
to the great saint Narada
to the great saint Narada
and was actually on the path of Krishna consciousness,
and was actually on the path of Krishna consciousness,
he had somehow become
he had somehow become
again entangled in material activities.
Again tangled
in material activities.
Thus his mind now
Thus his mind now
became restless,
became restless
and he began to speak
and began to speak
in a spirit of renunciation.
in a spirit
of renunciation.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.5.17 it is said, Tvakva swadharmascharanam bhujam hare bhajan abhagvotat tapatiptato yadi yatra kav vadadram aham amushyakim shava varta ato bhajatam swadharmata. One who has forsaken his material occupation to engage in devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. Yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. If one somehow or the other comes to the shelter of a great Vaishnava, takes to Krishna consciousness, becomes sentimental or realization, but in course of time falls down because of immature understanding, he is not actually fallen, for his having engaged in Krishna consciousness is a permanent hazard. If one falls down, therefore, his progress might be checked for a certain time, but it will again become manifest in an opportune moment. Although Priyavrata Maharaj was serving according to the instructions of Narada Muni, meant for going back home, back to Godhead, he returned to material affairs at the request of his father. In due course of time, however, his consciousness for serving Krishna reawakened by the grace of his spiritual master, Narada. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 6:41, Suchanam sarmatam gehe yoga prashtu bijayate. One who falls down from the process of bhakti yoga is again offered the opulence of the demigods, and after enjoying such material opulence, he is given a chance to take birth in a noble family of pure brahmanas or in a rich family to be given the chance to revive his Krishna consciousness. This actually happened in the life of Priyavrata. He is a most glorious example of this truth. In due course of time, he no longer wanted to enjoy the material opulences and his wife, kingdom and sons. Instead, he wanted to renounce them all. Therefore, after having described the material opulence of Maharaj Priyavrata, Shukadev Goswami in this verse describes his tendency for renunciation. The words Devashi Charana no Sharyana indicates that Maharaj Priyavrata, having fully surrendered to the sage, to the great sage Deva Rishi Narada, Devashi Narada, was strictly following all the devotional processes and regulative principles under his direction. In regard to strictly following the regulative principles, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Dandavat pranamashtam anupatitaha. By immediately offering obeisances, dandavats, unto the spiritual master, and by strictly following his directions, the student becomes advanced. Maharaj Priyavrata was doing all these things regularly. As long as one is in this material world, he has to be under the influence of the modes of material nature, guna, varsharga. It is not that Maharaj Priyavrata was freed from material influence because he possessed all material opulences. In this material world, both the very poor man and the very rich man are under the same influence, but both wealth and poverty are creations of the modes of material nature. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 3:27, Prakrite karyamanani guna karmani sarvasha. According to the modes of material nature, we acquire the material nature. According to the modes of material nature we acquire, the material nature gives us facility for material enjoyment. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. While enjoying this material opulences with full strength and influence, Maharaj Priyavrata once began to consider that although he had fully surrendered to the great sage Narada and was actually in the path of Krishna consciousness, yet somehow become again entangled in material activities. Thus his mind now becomes restless, and he began to speak in a spirit of renunciation. This is such a phenomenal verse. There were so many different points that we can expand on. Actually, I had to cut it down to 11 points. So let's hope we can cover 11 points that is mentioned in Srila Prabhupada's translation. So to start off with, to understand these points and understand where we are and understand the nature of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, let's first understand the fundamental essence of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, what it does, it invokes questions, curiosity. It stimulates the mind to think laterally and out of the box. Use our intelligence to dive deep into reality. And to discover the self. To invoke self-living and the higher thinking, self-realization, and Krishna consciousness. So the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is built, in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there's built on questions upon questions upon questions. And within those questions, there's also questions. So basically, it is not chronologically, Bhagavatam is not based chronologically. Bhagavatam's, progress can vary from one pastime to one time zone, to one creation, to one kalpa, to another kalpa, to a different places. So it's sometimes very hard to keep control of where we are right now. When is this narration from, or where is it from? Who is speaking it? So because it goes all over the place and it clearly illustrates the point. So the message is very important. So very, very important. We need to understand the message of the Bhagavatam of each of the verses, and what's the hidden, understanding and the taste or the rasa behind it, right? The text is structured through dialogue, not lectures. It begins with questions like, what is the absolute good for all living beings? What is the ultimate goal of the soul? This is not accidental. The Bhagavatam uses tattva jignasha, his inquiry into the truth, as the entry point into self-realization. Questions, reflections, deep truth, and transformation. Ultimately, for transformation. It awakens deep thinking, not shallow belief, right? It's not shallow belief, it's for deep thinking. The Bhagavatam is not meant for passive reading. It's not written for dialogue or for nice story, like one may read a novel. Behind every single story, behind every single pastime, behind every single verse, there's a very, very deep reality of a message that's coming through. And as we read it and co-read it and read it again and read it, we'll get the deeper understanding of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam verse, right? So it awakens deep thinking. It's not for shallow belief, right? It challenges material assumptions. It exposes illusions, that it exposes Maya. It redirects intelligence towards the self and the supreme. Sometimes we might reluctantly want to go in that direction because some of the verses, some of the points that come across are very cutting. It's very, very harsh. It's very, very difficult. It's very hard to digest the message that's coming across. But we have to go through this entire thing because we are on the path of self-realization. We want to cut through this material nature. So we must go past our comfort zone, and enter into the real reality, the spiritual reality. So sometimes it may be we speak this difficult subject matters. We may understand difficult subject matters. We have to see that as a tool, as a vehicle to take us to the absolute truth. Because otherwise we'll be stuck in comfort zones. And we've been stuck in this comfort zone for millennium after millennium, birth after birth, thousands and thousands of births. We were stuck in this comfort zone. So Bhagavatam is now severing the knot, the noose that we are holding. We are actually holding this material nature. Prabhupada said, it's like a man going to a tree and hugging the tree and saying, tree, leave me, tree, leave me, tree, leave me. But you are holding the tree. So basically, the Bhagavatam is there to help us to release the grip that we have in the material nature. It is our own nature. It is our own desire that keeps us over here. And so the Bhagavatam is telling us, to sever these ties, to sever these feelings, to sever this attachment. And sometimes it could be harsh, sometimes it could be pleasant, and sometimes it could be, it comes in story format, and sometimes in heavy philosophy. But whatever the message might be, we must take it in the right consciousness, in the right mood. Because ultimately, the only way we're going to go back to Godhead is if we understand the essence of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is actually, once my Guru Maharaj was saying, we are very fortunate to have the Bhagavatam, because the Bhagavatam gives you a very intimate understanding of the ultimate relationship that we have with God, the ultimate, the highest Golok Vrindavan. He even went on but to say that this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is not there in the heavenly planets. It's not even there in Vaikuntha. Because he says, what is the use of giving a philosophy? What is the use of giving a shastra that you have no value? What is the use of speaking about Radha Krishna pastimes even in Vaikuntha? Because the highest that they can understand is in awe and reverence. So this Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it could be even that it comes even once in the day of Brahma, because the other 99 once in the day of Brahma, the other 999 Chatur Yugas, there's no value of this intimate Bhagavatam, because you can't attain the ultimate goal of Golok Vrindavan. So it's such a rare, very, very rare book to have, such a rare opportunity for it to be revealed. And we are privy to it, all thanks to the grace of Srila Prabhupada. All thanks to the grace of Srila Prabhupada. So don't take this lightly, my dear brothers, my dear sisters. This is such an important part of our life. We need to understand the full message of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, or we may miss the boat, right? The Bhagavatam supports this. It's reducing dependence on material complexity. It increases inner clarity, right? It shifts the satisfaction from consumption to consciousness. The ultimate purpose of self-realization, that is the nature of, that is the purpose. It's the ultimate purpose of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is self-realization. All the questions ultimately converge to one point. What is the self? What is reality? And what is and who is this? What is the supreme truth and who is the supreme personality of Godhead? Every single verse, every single chapter of the Bhagavatam, it comes down to these 4 points. And the Bhagavatam's conclusion is not abstract, all right? It is experiential. You can practically feel it. You can practically taste it. You can practically apply it, right? So we need to be receptive to what the Bhagavatam is telling us. Don't be receptive to only some points and then not take points that are not digestible to us. Then we pick and choose. Then we might not get the full message, the full essence of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It does not promote It does not promote endless questionings alone. It guides inquiry towards resolution. So each question is not just question upon question, and then there's no resolution. But every single question it brings up that is brought up is brought up so that we can awaken our deep questioning and then find the real answers, right? So what it does, it guides us towards resolution. What resolution? Inquiry of jignasha, understanding, jnana, realization, vijnana, and devotion, bhakti, right? Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam uses intelligence, right, In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam uses intelligence, sometimes conflicting questions to awaken deeper perception. It redirects consciousness from external complexity to internal truths, and ultimately leads the soul to self-realization and Krishna consciousness through buddhi, intelligence, discipline, and devotion. That is the whole purpose of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, right? So basically, the entire thing is as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 10, 4, and 5 purport, nothing should be accepted blindly. Everything should be accepted with care and with caution, right? The truth should be spoken in a straightforward way so that others will understand actually what the facts are. Although sometimes the truth is unpalatable, one should not refrain from speaking it. That's from Bhagavad Gita 10, 4, and 5 purport. So then I also, when I speak, I like to ask a few questions. All right. Why do I ask questions? It's more than just a question and looking for an answer or showing knowledge, but it's a memory anchor. So when I ask a question, why do I ask a question? So that the whole point is that, we're trying to create a memory anchor. It's an important point, something that we can remember going forward. Not just like, when we listen to class, a lot of the things we just, misplace or we don't commit it to memory. But when a question comes, what it does, it's sort of, what can it do? We say it's tagging information of it as important. So it tags information important. It creates an emotion and a cognitive hook, right? It's making the brain rehearse the idea instead of just receiving it. So what happens then? We tend to remember it longer because it's important points, right? Often questions feel like pins in the memory. They focus attention. Questions are triggers for thought. So also some of the questions may trigger us to think deeper in that subject matter. A question doesn't just store data, right? It activates searches in the mind. It pulls related ideas together and it generates association. Association meaning, how does this point associate to different parts of the Bhagavatam or different chapters or different philosophical points, right? So instead of receiving knowledge, question starts a thinking process. It invokes thought. So it invokes thought. So that's why when I ask those questions, it's because it's an important point and it's nice to remember it. And in Vedanta and Bhakti tradition, questions have two directions. It's helpful in questioning that Shraddha-based inquiry. It's meant to deepen understanding of truth, scripture, and practice. It's also distracting questions, mental proliferation, right? When the mind questions endless without settling into applications or realizations. So it helps us to actually understand the point better and then to actually start thinking deeper into the subject matter, on that subject matter. So Srila Prabhupada is often encouraged, inquire submissively and render service. So the question becomes one. Remember better, understands deeper, and stays engaged with meaning. Right? In that point, in that token, I'd like to ask one question. Now, this question is there's no right and wrong answer, right? In this respect, we're talking about the 4 ashrams. Right? We all know what the 4 ashrams is. We spoke about it extensively yesterday and up to now. I'd like to ask everyone, of the 4 ashrams, which you think is the most important ashram? Which you think is the best ashram of the 4 ashrams? And why? Which would you think is the best ashram, the most important ashram of the 4 ashrams? And why do you think that ashram is the most important or the best ashram? Can anybody, like I said, there's no right and wrong answer. This is not from Shastra. Anybody like to contribute in that?
Grista ashrama is the best ashram.
Actually, perfect answer, Madhji. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
The Grahasthashram is the best ashram because only in the Grahasthashram you produce future devotees. The others are only for the existing devotees. They don't propagate further after that.
Right. So then I also thought the same. Then I asked the question, then why is Priyavrata Maharaj wanting to leave the Grihastha ashram if it's the best ashram. So that's how you would have thought. I mean, it is the best ashram, you and I know. But you know why it's the best ashram for you and I?
Sir,
Because the best ashram is the ashram that you are in. The best ashram is the ashram that you are in. So if you are in the sannyas ashram, that is the best ashram. If you are in Grihastha ashram, therefore, if you notice, all three of us are Grihasthas, so it is the best ashram. It's the perfect answer, right? But it's not the best ashram for Indradumna Maharaj. It's not the best ashram for your Guru Maharaj. So the best ashram is the ashram that we are in. So what is the praman for that, right? How do we know that is? So I actually had a long thought about this, and I was doing some research in last couple of days, because if the best ashram,
We can
the
only
best-
talk about the ashram which we are in.
yes,
We cannot talk about ashrama which we are not in. We can't talk about, sannyasa or, brahmachari and all that. We can't talk about that because we don't know
we can
about
talk
that.
about it, but we can't understand it. We don't have
Yeah, we can't.
first-class understanding. Like sometimes I remember in the early days, when husband and wife used to have problems, they used to go to the Guru Maharaj for solution. And the Guru once said, I don't know what Grihastha ashram. I never got married. How am I going to know the answers for you? How am I going to find a solution for you? And therefore, what happened, ISKCON started establishing like Grihastha senior leaders to guide the other Grihasthas, because they were asking questions to the Guru who never got into Grihastha ashram. So it's very hard for them to understand. So yes, Mataji, what you say is absolutely true. I mean, fantastic, So therefore, from my understanding, and so then I had to say, okay, if I thought the best ashram is ashram you're in, where's the praman for that from Shastric point of view? So there's a lot of verses, but I'll skip the actual verses and I'll go to the translation. And in Bhagavad Gita 18:47, it says, it is better to engage in one's own occupational duty, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. So if you are acting within your nature, within your ashram, then it does not attract sinful reactions. But when you try, when a let's put it in a way that is very gross to understand, if a sannyasi tries to enjoy in the ashram of a Grihastha, then you can understand how much of sinful reaction will be there. But it's not there for the Grihastha, So therefore, Shastra tells us, the point is best to be, to do your own duty imperfectly than to do somebody else's duty perfectly. The duties of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra are prescribed according to their particular modes of nature, right? One should not imitate another's duty. A man who is by nature attracted to kind of work done by the Shudra should not artificially claim to be a Brahmana, right? This is from that purport, actually. One should work according to his own nature. No work is abominable if performed in the service of the Supreme Lord, right? If a person is not by nature in the mode of goodness, he should not imitate the occupational duty of a Brahmana, right? Now, for instance, the good example is a Brahmana should never tell a lie, even a white lie. But a Grihastha who is a Vaishya has to lie. He has to say, my dear friend, a Vaishya is somebody who does business. I'm not making any profit from you. Now, this kind of lying, there is some provision in Shastra where there's no offense in lying like that. So you're speaking white lies. You're saying, I'm not, but if you're not making any profit, then how are you going to sustain yourself and your family, right? So what happens is if you are not making any profit, then stay at home. Why do you make the effort of working, right? So the provision is there for a Vaishya to speak a little bit of white lies. Prabhupada often mentions is, my dear friend, I'm not making any profit out of you. And then a Kshatriya might think, hey, listen, my job is so abominable that I have to go and murder and kill people. Sometimes I have to eat meat because that's we have to do. I have to take more than one wife. So Kshatriya may think this is such a horrible thing. It is, there's so much sinful reaction. Let me now become a Brahmana. And in that way, if he tries to act out of his nature, then he is committing self-reaction. What did Krishna tell to Arjuna? Right? Krishna told to Arjuna, you speak like a wise man, but you're actually a fool. Well, when Arjuna proposed, I don't want to kill my fathers, my grandfathers, my uncle, my kinsman. I'd rather become, a mendicant and go and, renounce order. Prabhupada, the Supreme Personality of God has said, you speak like a wise man, but actually you're a fool. Right? So how can we falsely adapt a nature that we are not in? It is his duty to fight. It's his duty to protect the city, the community, the civilization. So he has to do that. And because he has to do that, he has to kill people. When Krishna told him, go and kill. No, actually, you not kill them. I've already killed them. But I'm just giving you the credit for killing them, right? So Krishna did that. Now, that brings another point. Now, how does a Kshatriya offer obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What respects does a Kshatriya offer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He doesn't offer the Supreme Personality of Godhead garlands. A Kshatriya does not offer the Supreme Personality of Godhead garlands. He offers him arrows. He offers the Supreme Personality of Godhead arrows. When Krishna was in the chariot of Arjuna on the battle of Kurukshetra, wherever he went, nobody dropped down the weapons and took arti tree and said, Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Why? Here the Supreme Original Personality of Godhead came around. Wouldn't we all do that as soon as we see the Supreme Personality of Godhead? We'll take arti tray and immediately do arti. But in the battle of Kurukshetra, nowhere is it mentioned that somebody did arti for the Lord when he came in the battle of Kurukshetra. Nobody. Rather, when the Lord came forward, they to impress the Lord, they fought more valiantly. They fought with great valiance, right? They fought with great courage. And even to the extent that when Arjuna didn't fight with full valor, with full courage to grant for the Bhishma, the Lord became so angry. His eyes became bloodshot. He jumped off the chariot and said, if you can't do it, I'll do it. And he picked up a chariot wheel for Bhishma, right? So effectively, the Lord shows that when you are in a certain category, you have to perform your service within that category, within that designation. Otherwise, you're breaking the rules of nature, right? You're breaking the rules of spiritual nature. So there's no lenience like that. The Lord says, you don't speak wise words when you're actually behaving like a fool, right? So effectively, it's not supposed to give up. One is not supposed to give up occupational duty and try to perform the duty of a Brahmana or Kshatriya or a Vaishya if they are not in that category, in that consciousness, in that mood, in that stage of their life, right? One should act, so whatever one does, whether he is a Vaishya, whether he is a Kshatriya, whether he is a Sudra, whatever one does, one should do it to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if one should act to satisfy the Supreme Lord. And if one does one's duty to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no sinful reactions, as we heard earlier on. Right? So then brings up point number 2. So the point number 2 that is on this verse is which ashrams. So Srila Prabhupada often explains is a sincere grihastha can be more advanced than a negligent sannyasi because the real measure is devotional consciousness, not social position. Not social position, Prabhupada said. Right? If we disobey the orders of the spiritual master, it's the third offense of the holy name, right? I want you to bear this in mind because I'm going to expand about it quite a bit. The third offense of the holy name is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. But that's not always correct. I'm going to conflict myself there in a little while. Let's see if we can understand that. So Guru's orders is, and so Guru's order, Sadhu's order, and Shastra's order must all be in line. One should be very careful that Guru's orders, Sadhu's orders, right, and Shastra's orders. And we have one more benefit, and Srila Prabhupada's orders, Srila Prabhupada's direction should all be in line. There should be no contradiction, no confliction. That is very, very important for us to understand. As Srila Prabhupada often emphasized, the real question is not whether one is a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, or sannyasi. The real question is how steady is one serving Krishna, right? Then it says in this verse, is the shelter of a great Vaishnava, the shelter of a great Vaishnava takes to Krishna consciousness because of sentimental or realization, but in the course of time falls down because of immature understanding. At this point, I give a lot of a lot of thought on this point. I actually pondered on this point quite a bit. What is meant by this? Because there's so many different aspects that we can understand this point, right? So let's see if I can cover a few points. But at the end of it, I couldn't answer one question, and I'm going to open that up to you all. So hopefully you can think about it, and we can discuss it, or you can enlighten me on it. Because of sentiments of realization, all right, Prabhupada acknowledged that the people may come to Krishna consciousness for different reasons. I know a lot of reasons is mentioned over there, but these are some of the reasons why they come to Krishna consciousness. They either come for deep philosophical realization, or seeking the deep philosophical realization, or faith born from association, which is very often the case. By associating with somebody who has great faith, then you will get some faith and you'll come to Krishna consciousness. Emotional attraction to devotees, kirtans, deities, or even prasadam. Prasadam has made more devotees than anything else, or everything else combined, right? Even great personalities like Steve Jobs was always glorifying Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON because of the prasadam they had in his bachelor days. Or inspiration from saintly persons. So saintly persons may go and speak in an auditorium, and thousands of newcomers may be there. And it might touch a few people's souls so ingrained that they might think, okay, this is what I was looking for. And it'll start the fire of devotion, right? And some may also come with ulterior motive, with more sinister, deeply personal motives as well. So that's the one I could not understand, but we will see what happens. So the beginning may not be perfect or fully mature, right? In the beginning, we will not be perfect or fully mature, but contact with genuine bhakti is still spiritually valuable. Fall down because of immature understanding, mentioned in this verse. Bhakti itself is never defective or defeated. Remember this fundamental point, right? Prabhupada does not say the person falls because of bhakti failed. Rather, the person's understanding was not yet sufficiently mature. Why? Prabhupada's core point. He repeatedly stresses bhakti itself is never defective or defeated. So the issue is not bhakti fail, but rather the practitioner is not fully purified or fixed, or the execution is incomplete, immature, or mixed with material desires. In the causes of fall down, material attachment, that ashakti or sense enjoyment, weak philosophical groundings, ashat shanga, lack of nishta, not firmly convinced that Krishna is the ultimate goal, right? Dormant material tendencies not yet cleared. So dormant material tendencies are not yet cleared. Offenses, aparad, especially nam aparad or Vaishnava aparad, right? Imitation or premature elevation, that's sahaja tendency, act what we are not yet, like that point we were bringing up earlier. Trying to act on an higher platform without being purified or being on that platform. Influence of leaders, right? Influence of leaders or environment. Prabhupada does not acknowledge that improper association, superior misguidance, or deviation from exemplary behavior can weaken faith. So if one is exposed to improper association, improper, superior, or misguided or deviating exemplary behaviors, that can weaken one's faith, right? Even if there is fall downs, devotional assets is never lost, right? That's the next point. If it is not rejecting bhakti, it is the interruption due to remaining materially conditioned, sometimes temporary. The practitioner does not fall because bhakti is ineffective, but because his execution is not yet mature and is still mixed with material desires and offenses. When anatas remain, the practice is not yet fixed on the level of nishta, and therefore external influences may temporarily cover one's devotional inclination. The fall is not a failure of bhakti, but a reflection of incomplete purification of the practitioner. This is different from the causes of Priyavrata Maharaj, or even like Chitraketu Maharaj. I'll expand on that in a second, where extraordinary circumstances were arranged by their Lord. So here it's saying, you so-called fell down because you went into Grihastha ashram, right? He is not actually fallen. From the worldly perspective, the person may appear to have left devotional life. However, spiritually, the transcendental sukriti remains. The association remains. The impression, samskars remains. And the mercy of Guru and Krishna still remains. This is in the case of special circumstances like Priyavrata Maharaj. The bhakti is never destroyed. This is the same principle taught by Bhagavad Gita 6:40, which is mentioned above. One who does good is never overcome by evil. Prabhupada said Prabhupada uses Priyavrata to illustrate that even a devotee becomes involved in worldly affairs, devotional impressions remain dormant and can later reawaken by the mercy of Guru. In due course of time, however, the consciousness of serving Krishna reawakens by the grace of spiritual master, Narada in this case. Thus, the devotee's greatest protection is remaining connected to Guru and Vaishnava, right? So, a person may, leave the temple, get married, become absorbed in career or family, become distracted for many years, or even die immaturely, right? While you're still immature, you may die. Yet, if he has genuinely taken shelter of a great Vaishnava and performed sincere devotional service, that bhakti remains a permanent asset. Because, see, whatever we do, whatever sukriti we have created by giving donations and stuff like that, is held by Yamuraj or the assistant of Yamuraj. So we can lose it, we can gain it, we can include, we can spend it. But bhakti that we do bhakti is a transcendental phenomena. So it is stored by Krishna in the spiritual world. And what is stored in the spiritual world is Satchitananda, is eternal. It is not, it doesn't diminish with time. Mostly, right? So yet if he has genuinely taken shelter of a great Vaishnava and performed sincere devotional service, the bhakti remains a permanent asset. At the proper time, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, those devotional expressions can awaken again. This is one of the most helpful teachings of the Bhagavatam. There may be delays, but there is no loss in devotional service. So this brings us to a very important parallel, right? So in this case as well, Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, so there's two kinds. One we spoke about, see, we immature devotees, we may fall down from grace, we may temporarily, go away, we might temporarily become absent in our devotional activities. That's one. Second person is great personality like Priyavrata Maharaj, and there's a few others, I'll give you examples if I have time in a minute, that what happens is, it's not because of they fall down. Even Srila Prabhupada, Vritrasura Maharaj, it's not because of the inclination to enjoy material nature. They fall down, apparent fall down seems fall down, but it is done for the mercy of the Lord, by the mercy of the Lord, for the pleasure of the Lord. So like Srila Prabhupada came from the spiritual world to the material world, can be seen as a descent or a fall down. Priyavrata Maharaj taking Grihastha ashram can be seen as a fall down. Vritrasura's position can be seen as a fall down, being cursed by Parvati. But actually, no, these are for higher arrangements. They are there for the pleasure of the Lord. The Lord has an ultimate need for them to do that. So they just do it because, handle me roughly by your grace or make me broken out by not being present before me. You are still my Lord unconditionally, no matter what circumstances, where they are. Sometimes it said Prabhupada is now gone to the lower planetary systems to preach, right? So does that mean now Prabhupada has fallen down? No way. Srila Prabhupada is an eternal associate of the Lord. He is eternally liberated. He is Nityasiddhi. So fall down because of immature. Krishna consciousness is a permanent asset. Yes. So So basically what happens, one may come, stay for a while, then gone, never to be seen again. Some were very active, even on top level responsibility, right? Not just newcomers, some very mature devotees, they also went away, never to be seen again. So in my circumstances, I always think about this, how should one, understand Krishna consciousness? Because I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of dying away from Srila Prabhupada. I'm afraid of dying away from Srila Prabhupada or Srila Prabhupada's shelter. So the point is that if something happens and I have to deviate, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm just afraid of dying away from Srila Prabhupada. And we also see that in the case of children born of devotee families, they were born of very, very great Sukriti, of great spiritual elevation. Otherwise, how can they be born in Vaishnava families in the age of Kali? In the age of Kali, where the golden avatar has come and the golden age is there. They're born in our families and engaged, performing our sadhana bhakti from birth. And the moment they can stand on their own 2 feet, they're gone. Gurukul devotees, gone. Young devotees, they come and they're gone, never to be seen again, or deviate and get all attracted again in this material nature. How is it possible? It seems like an apparent major fall down. How do we understand that from our children's perspective as well? When we're born from birth, even before birth, my children, we started performing samskaras for them. We started listening to Bhagavatam 24/7, making them listen to Bhagavatam within the womb, right? We even pray to invoke them. We pray to Guru, we ask Guru for blessings before. And still, when they come of age, that their inclination and the taste for Krishna consciousness dwindles at a certain age. So how is that possible? That these great personalities, because how I see it, you see, when a devotee, when a child is born in a devotee family, these are great personalities looking from top. And when they see darkness in the age of Kali, they choose, where do I want to take birth? Because these great personalities, it says demigods choose to take birth in the Sankirtan movement in the age of Kali. So these great personalities, great sadhus, great demigods, they're looking down to take birth in great Vaishnava families. And if they look down in the darkest of darkness, and then you see one little sparkle of light, and they choose, whoa, here's a Vaishnava, let me take birth in that family. And they chose to take birth, right? And they come down with great devotional Sukriti. And then when they come of teenagehood, they lose the taste, the roots, the Shraddha is lost, the faith is lost, the taste is lost, and they deviate. And this is there in great numbers, in great percentage, our children, they deviate. So how do we see that? So how can we understand? So I've got a question, right? So we perceive gaps between ideal living experiences, especially when expectations do not match, right? So then it brings about the next point. So in Varnashram, following the natural course of social according to the social and mental situation, clean living under the authority may seem like a fall down. This is not in the case of Bharata Maharaj, right? So there are other examples of people that came down, or personalities that came down, but they came down by the mercy of the Lord, by the instructions of the Lord, right? One is Priyavrata Maharaj, the other one is Bharat Maharaj, Chittaketu Maharaj. Then we've got Jai and Vijay is good examples as well. And King Nigru, NRG, Nigra. I think it's mentioned in 9th canto or 10th canto, chapter 64. How he had to fall down because of a mistake that he didn't even intend making. He gave a donation twice to somebody. And so he was cursed, and then he suffered for a long time until Krishna came and elevated him. So these are great personalities. It's not their karma, it is their dharma to serve. And what Prabhupada said, I'm a puppet in your hands. Make me dance, make me dance. The devotee should have intelligence to know who is. Now, this brings about the third character. First is a person who is immature. Second is a person who is seems like a fall down by the Supreme Person of Godhead. But third comes a more sinister person that joins the holy Sankirtan movement, but they come not as to cultivate or to start Krishna consciousness, nor do they come by the instructions of the Lord, but they come with the most sinister intent. So let's see what that intent is, and then we will finish by there. I know I'll need a few more minutes. although I've only went to 3 points out of the 11. A devotee should have intelligence to know who is deviating, surrender by your intelligence, like I mentioned earlier on, and don't surrender your intelligence. So Prabhupada said this to Bali Mardana in 1974. Devotees should have intelligence and to know who is deviating. Surrender by your intelligence, but don't surrender your intelligence. Srila Prabhupada said that in 1974. So one thought is, thought-provoking question is, please think about this. Please think about this, you know, in the right mood, in the right attitude, right? And give it some grateful, meaningful insight into it. Let's see if we can find. The third category of person who entered this most auspicious and all-purifying society are those who carry ulterior motives, sinister intent, counterproductive agendas, and self-serving desires. They may appear outwardly as sadhus or well-wishers, yet inwardly act as agents of Maya and instruments of Kali, becoming the most dangerous of influences due to their subtle, destructive opposition to spiritual welfare. So according to this verse, what happens to these personalities, right? Are they actually fallen, or do they still accumulate spiritual credits? Do they rise again to the former spiritual level, even though it was a pseudo platform, right? What happens to such personalities? From Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam's principles, outcome depends on intention, chitta, sincerity and action, not outer dress or social role, right? If someone enters devotional environment with hypocrisy, pretending spiritually while pursuing exploitation, right? Offensive mentality, aparad, or deliberate deception, then Shastras classify this as serious obstructions to bhakti, not neutral participation. By such a person, right? Such a person does not gain genuine bhakti, benefit from pretenses, may instead generate karma and aparad reactions. Are they fallen? So I'm not too sure. These are the questions I'm asking. Technically, fallen or patita in the Vaishnava language usually refers to someone who has deviated from an higher devotional position. But someone who has never sincerely situated in bhakti is not fallen from bhakti. They are still within the material condition, but now with added responsibility. And do they accumulate spiritual credits? Such persons that come with spiritual credits. Now, I'm coming to what kinds of how Shastra describes this kind of persons. Bhakti is defined by bhava and intention, not external activity alone, right? So Prabhupada very, very clearly states that offenses, especially to Vaishnavas and the holy name, can destroy even previous spiritual credits, right? It can it can actually destroy previous spiritual credits, but one should be very careful. At the same token, so if the motive is wrong, it is not simply credit accumulating. It can become spiritually counterproductive. There are three different cases. Genuine but immature practitioners may fall due to weakness, retain devotional seeds, right? And can be revived quickly again, as according to Bhagavad Gita 641 and 643 logic. Those like Priyavrata Maharaj instructed to descend to for the pleasure of the Lord, right? So recovery is not guaranteed by past association alone, the core principle. So basically, spiritual elevation is determined by sincerity of consciousness, not by external participation in the holy environment. So to bear in mind, the pranams for this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Kali Chaita indicates that there are other Vaishnavas, pseudo Vaishnavas, with tilak on their nose and kunti beads on their neck. Such as pseudo Vaishnavas associates with money and women and is jealous of successful Vaishnavas. That is in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 1, text 218, 220 purport. Then when the devotee has an interest in or will, when a devotee has an interest or will different from the interest of the Supreme Lord, his mentality is that of a separatist. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 3:29-9, we all went through that recently. Anyone if he is a pure devotee, he can deliver others. He can become spiritual master. But unless he is on that platform, he should not attempt it. Why? Then both of them will go to hell. Like blind leading the blind. Srila Prabhupada's letter on 14/12/71. So, in the Kali Yuga, demons take birth in the families of Brahmanas. And that's in Varana Purana, and it's also mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 4:21-40. It's a long purport, but it's basically in that purport, Prabhupada says that demons taking advantage of Kali Yuga take birth in the Sankirtan movement. One will not derive any benefit by rendering service to such false Brahmana Kulash. One must therefore take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and his association, and should also render service to them, for such activities will greatly help the neophyte in attaining full satisfaction. So this third category, I don't know how to identify them, and I'm not sure what happens to them and what happens to us when we follow the third category, who are sent as agents of Kali and agents of Maya to deviate or to cause disruption. Srila Prabhupada said, we cannot be broken from outside. We are so strong. We cannot be penetrated from outside. If this Sankirtan movement has to be broken, it has to be broken from within. So you told Kali, you told Maya the strategy how to cause disruption in the Sankirtan movement. So Kali and Maya is putting their own men, their own agents to do his bidding. So when the third category of people come in into Krishna consciousness and they fall down, but they already fallen anyway. So what happens to them? What happens? They still get sukriti by performing devotional service, even though it's a pseudo and they were in disguise with a different intent. Do they still get pious sukriti? Do they still get spiritual benefit? And do they still come back to the position that they so-called sat on, accompanied, right? So the devotee's spiritual advancement, bhakti or inner realization may sometimes appear to slow down, become hidden, stop due to circumstances like karma, external struggle, or temporary weakness. Progress is not lost. So I'll stop here because we went above. My apology again. So is there any questions, any contribution, or anybody can help me with the questions that we had?
Hare Krishna, Janaka Prabhuji. Thank you very much for your so enthusiastic class. And actually, it makes me confused.
Me too, Mataji, which is also one of the feelings of
so much content is in there. And what I feel over here is that in Śrīmad-Bhāgavad here we say that Priyavrata Maharaj, he is such a exalted devotee, and when he becomes he takes charge of his kingdom, and with the instruction of course, Narad Muni always wanted him to stay away from this being a king, but there was a purpose. Higher purpose was Brahma. So he actually accepted the order of Lord Brahma, and so he took over. But in this verse he's saying that because when he was doing all these activities in relation with his family, his wife and all that, and he was also he didn't know what to do because he didn't want to do this thing, but he did it because Lord Brahma said. No, here in this verse we are saying about following the orders of the spiritual master, but
yes.
Guru, Sadhu and Shastra is there. But we have seen that in case of Bali Maharaj, he didn't follow the order of his spiritual master, because he said there was a higher purpose.
Correct.
And higher purpose was the devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So he just, in that case, there is one case, in that case, he didn't. So we have to see that if there is a higher purpose, then we have to have that. And that was the Supreme Lord. And he knew that Vamandev is a Supreme Lord. So he did do that in that case. Now in Bhagavad Gita, we say that, about the other thing. I don't know what exactly your question was, but the thing is that even if one has done most abominable thing, and then 9:30, Bhagavad Gita 9:30 say, Abhichet suduracharo vachite ma mananya vak Sadhurevacha mantavya samyug vyavasitosi. So anybody, even one commits most abominable action, if he's engaged in devotion service, he is to be considered saintly because he's properly situated. Now we should understand here we are talking about the devotees,
Yes.
not somebody who claims to be a devotee, but he has some,
Sure.
ulterior motive behind. So if
Yes.
he's a devotee and accidentally he does something, then he's still considered to be the person who is a devotee. And in the next verse 931 he says, Shipram bhavati dharmatma sasvat shantim nigachati kaunteya pratijanhi name bhaktya pranashyati. So he's saying he quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So we should understand, if we are devotees accidentally, if we keep on committing same mistake again and again and doing Vaishnava Aparadh and not attentively be chanting our rounds as we are prescribed, then it's not for them, it's for devotees. Then they quickly become righteous. And Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. I just want you to say
Yes.
that, Prabhuji, but such a nice class. You
Thank
have
you.
to go very deeply, into that,
Yes.
each and every point you mention, but my brain cannot digest so much quickly.
All
I
right.
have to really meditate on that. On one lecture I have to meditate and write my points and everything, then I can understand. But it's a nice class,
But by
Prabhuji.
your summary, Mataji, you seem to have understood everything, and you're just being humble. Mataji, there's one other. It's not only isolated incident that you spoke about when he didn't follow Bali Maharaj didn't follow his Guru Maharaj. There's one other one that I didn't have the opportunity to speak about, and that's for Grandfather Bhishma as well. His spiritual master Parasaram, which is incarnation of the Lord. He instructed him to get married, and he refused, and then there was a big battle.
Yeah.
Big fight that he even defeated his own spiritual master.
Yeah.
And what happened is even that as well. I even heard in the early days, I couldn't find any praman for that, is that there's one instruction of the spiritual master you don't have to follow, and that is if he instructs you to get married and if you don't want to. But I couldn't find the praman for that. I looked for it, but I remember
What
in the
was
early
that, Prabhuji? I couldn't get you. What did you say?
there's one instruction of the spiritual master. In the early days, I've heard this in class. And this is also the praman is from Grandfather Bhishma. There's one instruction of the spiritual master that one doesn't have to follow, and that is if the spiritual master tells you to get married, and if you have no intention to get married.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So,
right.
but I never found the praman for that, and I'll look for it. But the praman for that was also what happened is Grandfather Bhishma was instructed by Parasuram to get married to Amba.
Yeah.
And he refused, and to the extent that his spiritual master got so angry that they went into physical fight for a long time. They went into physical fight for a long time. And Grandfather Bhishma, even Parasuram is the manifestation of the prowess of the Lord. That Grandfather Bhishma even defeated his spiritual master.
Yeah.
In that way. So that's the other example of where in that regard, where there was no, for an higher purpose, he didn't follow the instruction of his spiritual master. But not that we should do that. That's not a good example for us to follow. We should understand our Guru will not give us instruction that is not pertaining to us immediately. We're not great personalities that we know better than our spiritual master. So we should follow the Guru's instruction very, very attentively. So that's very important as well. So yes, Mataji, you are right. I was actually talking about what happens is, like you see, when we're sincere devotees, when we come out of sincerity with the real intent to become devotees, then of course there's no loss on the path. Or the Lord sends us down, then there's no loss because you're still on, even wherever you are, you're still in Vaikuntha. You're still in Golok Vrindavan. When Srila Prabhupada came here, wherever you walk became Golok Vrindavan. Wherever Srila Prabhupada stayed, we're trying to buy and accumulate because we see that as a resident of the Lord. So wherever, if Prabhupada stayed in one house like in Melbourne, they want to buy that house. They did the same everywhere, so effectively it's because wherever the sadhu touches becomes transcendental. So that's not fall down for that. But the third, what happens is when people come in, not only ISKCON but in religious organizations, but they come where they do not follow, and the intent is not to please the Lord. The intent is there to cause anarchy, or, like the example given my Guru Maharaj was once saying, see, there's Kali, right? And Maya has got a army on one side, and the Sankirtan movement is on another side, right? So we are supposed to fight with the other side. We're supposed to fight against Kali, against Kali Yuga, and against Kali, against Maya. So we say that we're standing on the battlefield and we draw our weapons. We're ready to shoot, about to shoot. And what happens then? What happens is that, we all, who's our general? Our general is Srila Prabhupada. And we're about to shoot and attack Kali. And then say other generals or other soldiers in our own camp start shooting at us between, in our own side. So what happens then? Kali and Maya will stand and say, oh, we don't need to fight. They'll do the job for us. So those are the kind of personalities we're talking about that I don't show. Whether they come there, they sometimes get very high position. They speak very good philosophy. In fact, the Bible says degradation will be spread by a very charismatic man. The Bible says the charismatic man will come and spread the digits of the 666 or the message of Satan. So if a person comes and in a pseudo of a devotee, he'll be a very charismatic man. He'll be very, very, he'll know Shastra very well. Now, it's not unusual for demons to know Shastra. Because if you're looking at the Jai Vijay, not Jai Vijay, sorry, Kamsa,
Ravana.
and all the demons.
Ravana was a big scholar. He need all the Veda Shastras.
Yes, Kamsa knew all those things. In fact, one time, they needed to do a yagya by somebody who never missed one chanting of the Gayatri. Not once, not one chanting of Gayatri. And no demigod could fulfill that position. Because sometime or the other, they all missed sometime. Except Kamsa. Was it Kamsa or Ravan? One of them. They were the ones that were called to do this because they never missed one Gayatri mantra chanting. And these are demons. So effectively, they know Shastra. That's not put them in a category of devotees. So that's my mental confusion is what happens in the case of that, the external circumstances of these people come to misguide us, to misdirect us. What happens to them? Do they still come back again because they have good positions? Do they still again get the opportunity to go back there, or is because it was pseudo they don't? But anyways, that's what you were saying. You wasn't confused about my question. I hope that missing. So yes, Mataji, I'm sorry if I have given too much information, but like I said, this verse was packed with points. I only spoke about 4 of the 11 points that I chose to speak on.
This
So
needs a
apology
seminar
again,
of 3 or 4 days, Prabhuji. When we listen to the seminar, sometimes there is a topic.
Yes.
They have 3 or 4 days seminar. Like in Vrindavan itself, I listen to them. And you have so much of content in that, but I don't have a capacity to digest that.
No, Mataji, I think you're humble because you summarized it very nicely. I see you got the full gist of what I said.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But, we can get little bit whatever, I can say. We can only fly, a bird can only fly where his wings can take. And that's what my position is.
Yeah, but sometimes we sit on the back of the Guru is like Garuda, he'll take us to where we can't go,
I think one simple thing for me is chant my rounds attentively, follow 4 regulative principles, hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Bhagavad Gita, have association of my devotees. And I think in one lecture, Prabhupada says, if you chant properly and you follow 4 regulative principles and read my books, you will go back to Godhead.
Oh, Prabhupada mentioned it time and time again. That's time and time again. What else do we need to do? That's why in this age of Kali, it's considered so simple to go back.
Yes.
We don't have to perform severe austerity for thousands of years. We just do what you just mentioned best. And that as well, even if we're not doing 100%, if we do it within our capacity, the Lord, like you said earlier on, the Lord will carry what we lack and preserve what we have.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Anybody else? Anu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for that wonderful class that you have given, and so many points as Mataji was saying. Couple of things that I thought, the question that you were saying about not to get married, One example comes to mind is the four Kumaras. The four
Yes.
Kumaras, because
Yeah.
they were brought as Prajapatis, so to create progeny. So they went against the spiritual master, because
Yeah.
Brahma is the only person there. So
That is true.
so we can take
That's
that
how Shiva
example.
was created.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how to. But yeah, that is there. See, Prabhu, for me, in terms of what you are asking, I look at what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that he wants an offering with love. When the intention is otherwise, that offering is not made with love, then there is not bhakti at that stage.
Yeah.
So when people come with ulterior motives, although they may disguise themselves as devotees,
Yes.
may get a position in the midst of the devotees, whatever it is, but that, in my view, is that is not actually an offering to Krishna. When there is no bhakti over there, there is not the question of anything else that follows from it. See, the question of fall down from bhakti may happen and then they may be restored. But when there is no bhakti in it,
Yeah.
that is not there. But on the other hand, we always say that, but even Krishna says, there are four types of people who come to me.
Yes.
So the point over there is, even though his intention is not there, Krishna keeps providing that opportunity to take away that intention of not actually wanting to surrender to Krishna also. That also is taken away by Krishna, ultimately leading them to that point. So in that way, Krishna, whilst in the immediate sense may not do, but he is always looking. He's even forget about those people who are doing in this way, but even others who go against him, he gives them the best of benefits. So therefore, Krishna will continue providing them opportunities, not because of the service that they did, but because of who Krishna is.
Yes. That's right.
That's the way I look at it, Prabhu. Thank you.
So I've got a question then. So Prabhu, I'm not questioning you from philosophical, but I'm questioning you because I have that inquiry in my heart, and I was reading this verse and it stuck in my heart very strongly, and that's the reason I brought it up. Now you see, the old proverbial saying goes, not everyone in a devotee is a devotee, right? So what happens then? And then the same token, it says Vaishnava Aparad. We can't go around saying everyone, are you a Chaitanya guru or you're a real guru? We can't do that's also Aparad, right? So the point is that how do we identify them, for one? Because if we don't, then he says that, both they go to hell and we go to hell too. So we have to be mindful that we have to identify them. So we have to be careful that we don't follow the blind following the blind, like Prabhupada mentioned in the verses earlier mentioned. So how do we identify them and how do we be mindful of them? And at the same time, how do we protect ourselves, our community and our society from such people so that that they're not get exploited or we cannot be deviated from our Krishna Bhakti. And at the same token, while doing that, how is it that we be careful of following the strict guideline of Vaishnava Aparad?
Prabhu, for me, Vaishnava Aparad happens when you stop somebody from performing their devotional service. That is Vaishnava Aparad. Or or it is for yourself also. It is not only for others.
Yeah.
Even for yourself. That is why when you don't follow the Guru's orders, because the Guru's orders are meant to take you to Krishna, that becomes a very serious concern.
Yes.
Yeah. For me, that is Vaishnava Aparad. See, the other side of it, Prabhupada also said, why are the people getting cheated? Because they want to get cheated. That's why they attract the cheaters.
That's right.
So if our intention is sincere, we will. See, I know of a person who was very much attracted to ISKCON. They came to ISKCON, they got all the knowledge, everything, but they were not 100% sure that whether we need to follow all of these practices, we need to follow the four regulative principles, everything. Although in their mind, they were there. Then they went around everywhere. And now, after a good 20 years, they've now come back and said, I've been everywhere. I don't see anywhere where that ultimate aim is only to please Krishna. That I cannot see anywhere. So for that person, because they were searching, And they were doing. And that person, Krishna, ultimately shows them that, yes, you go around. But now they are convinced and said, now, although I've wasted 20 years, but now I want to take up and do. So the point therein is, yes, you might be dragged away because of our imperfections, but Krishna always gives, and therefore the right path will be there if you're sincere to actually try to get to the ultimate. That's what I feel. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yes. Well, Krishna's all protector, so you protect. So effectively, you know, like you brought about a very good point that answers my question, is that when these people come over there, the misleading sahajas, then they'll attract people that are not sincere, those who came to be cheated anyway. So we must be very careful that we are not cheated, because this world is made of two things: the cheaters and the cheated. People want to be cheated, actually. And so, yes, I agree with you. That actually answers the question. In that case, Krishna will protect our sadhana bhakti and will show us, will reveal the torchlight of knowledge. Through the torchlight of knowledge, Guru will protect. Srila Prabhupada will give us protection. So we have to be receptive to seeing the torchlight of knowledge as well. Otherwise, we might also, be distracted. But yeah, that's a good point, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you once again for your classes, Prabhu. Always brings about nice discussions and some very good points for us to actually practice in our own lives. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you. I just had questions that was in my heart, and I thought I'll ask all the Vaishnavas. Thank you. Anybody else? Anything else? It was a very healthy conversation, so hence we ran a bit late. I apologize to everyone. Please accept our humble obeisance and forgive us for our delays. It's, it was very nice. It's a healthy conversation. It's very good to nourish our spiritual life and to water the seed of bhakti. So again, forgive our offenses and for the delay. And we shall have a lovely day and a good Krishna conscious day, and all the best for the month of Purushottam. I wanted to speak a bit about month of Purushottam, but time was not there. So anyway, all the best. Have a lovely day. Hare Krishna, and please forgive many offenses. Forgive my many offenses. Shri Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripat
Pavane Ve Vaishnav Ve Namo Namah. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind Ki Jai.
Thank you all for coming to join us
His
today.
grace,
Janakaraj Prabhu
Janakaraj
ki
Prabhu ji
jai.
ki
Jai.
jai.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Bol.